You know, if there's one oversaturated what if in the community, it's definitely what if Minato survived. And most of the time, they're not finished. More than 75% of them aren't. So here's a finished one. But before we get into that, ladies and gentlemen, before we do that, I quickly just want to say, the algorithm has been effing me lately. It's been bad. So if you guys could help me out and leave a like on today's video, that'd be very much so appreciated. That said, enjoy.
Hey Ross, sauce it up.
Okay, so this what if can pretty much be brought into existence in one of two ways, but we're going to be going with the second. The first one is obviously the most simple, which is essentially Minato just doesn't use the Death Reaper seal, and the second one is that Hiruzen comes in to save the day and pretty much has a little bit of a passing of the torch moment with Minato. I mean, I personally did enjoy the battle between Orochimaru and what's it called, Hiruzen in the original, but the thing with that is that, I mean, obviously he sacrificed himself for the village and all he managed to do was seal arms. This time around, he's gonna literally save so many things from happening just by saving Minato in this moment. So obviously we get the battle between Minato and Obito, which does go down exactly like it does in the original, with Minato's iconic Rasengan to Obito's back and Obito pretty much being forced to retreat, with Minato rushing back into the battlefield, but this time with Minato trying his absolute best to essentially fight off against the tailed beast. This time around, I'm going to be saying that Minato doesn't make the grave mistake of having Naruto anywhere near the situation, right? This time around, I'm actually going to be saying, actually not, because Naruto does technically have to be close by because of the sealing process. So Naruto is nearby, but the thing that's going to be changing here is that Hiruzen would pretty much jump in from the top of a building with his adamantium staff stretched out, and he would use that as well as his top tier speed to essentially get to the battlefield as fast as humanly possible. I mean, Hiruzen ends up making it to the area, and once Hiruzen is there, he would proceed to essentially like come in with the staff and just whack the tailed beast with it. Minato would look to Hiruzen and begin to pretty much say that he's gonna have to be the one responsible for sealing it, and once Hiruzen realizes what Minato's about to do, Hiruzen this time, instead of just watching him do it, would say, "Minato, stop!" As Minato, you know, he kind of stops midway of doing the jutsu without actually completing it, and Hiruzen says that, you know, he should let the old man do this, that he's had a good run at life, but that it's about time that the next generation shows why it's better. And from here, I would see Minato having some a really cool moment where he would weave the hand signs, right? And Minato would kind of just bow his head in respect in like a really cool passing of the torch moment with Hiruzen, like truly giving the village up to Minato for him to make every decision on his own. Now, Minato watching Hiruzen sacrifice his life using the Death Reaper seal would have to essentially help him out with controlling the Nine Tails, with Kushina using the Uzumaki chains so that they could successfully actually end up sealing the entirety of the nine-tailed fox inside of Naruto. In the original, they only give him half, but this time around, I'm going to be saying that he's actually the bearer of the entirety, just because I do believe that it would be better, and I don't really think it's going to change I mean, obviously, his chakra pool will be doubled, but it's like, it also would actually help him with the controlling of Kurama, because in the original, he had the most like angry part of Kurama and the part that was even harder to control. This time he has like a slightly more tame version of him, right? But regardless, Minato, after all would be said and done, would go over towards his newborn baby, right, Naruto, and you know, he would hold him in his hand and just kind of realize that his son's gonna have to grow up a Jinchuriki. He can already like tell how his life's gonna be, so Minato already puts it in state that nobody's really going to be knowing about Naruto's power. Now, Hiruzen in the original obviously made it a secret, but this time around, Minato is pretty much going to be keeping that a secret until he becomes a Chunin, because once at that point, he's almost confident confident that his son will be fine. And due to the fact that he is the son of the Hokage, he doesn't think much will happen at that point. So what would end up essentially happening here is that because Minato is the Hokage, he would actually change a lot of things leading to Naruto growing up. Number one of the biggest things that's actually going to be changing in this version because of Minato being alive is his actual being there for the Uchihas. They will not be ostracized and deemed the villains of the nine-tailed attack because Minato is actually there to step in the way and not let anybody berate the Uchihas or even bring any form of blame to the direction of them. He would have a very peaceful meeting with the leader of the Uchiha clan, the father of Sasuke, Fugaku Uchiha, and we would pretty much end up seeing a moment in which Minato and Fugaku would see eye to eye, in which Minato ends up pretty much stating that the Uchiha police force will have more to do in the village and that the Uchiha's ostracization will pretty much end with him, that is no longer going to be happening. And when Danzo tries to pretty much fight off against this, Minato sternly would remind him who the Hokage is, who's in charge, and that Danzo needs to remain in his place. Because Minato is just going to get straight to business. I mean, they don't call him the Yellow Flash or a run-on-site ninja for no reason. He's not going to be getting like bossed around by anybody except for his wife. Some like 5'4" girl, maybe like 5'2". That's crazy to think about. Yeah, truly guys, like the only person who can really put us in check is our girls, if you really think about it. But regardless though, Minato would end up actually being an excellent father to Naruto, and because Naruto actually has the guidance of Kushina and Minato by his side during his early years, Naruto wouldn't have to have a thought of what would it be like to have mom and dad. Naruto wouldn't have those years of getting bullied and being pushed aside for no reason. Instead, Naruto would actually grow up a lot like Boruto would in the Boruto anime, and instead of being spoiled or bratty because of the way that he was raised, because of the fact that he has Kushina there to pretty much keep him humble, Naruto would not end up getting those kind of same personality traits as Boruto. However, that talent that Boruto does display in the anime would pretty much have ended up being passed down to Naruto, and because he would be able to train with his father for so many years on end, he would actually have the ability of being on par or even more than what Sasuke would be during their years in the academy. And now Sasuke in this version would actually never end up going through an emo phase. And this would be a good thing because not only do we keep Sasuke in the village, but we actually also keep Shisui and Itachi in the village, with Itachi never having to join the Akatsuki and Obito having no pull whatsoever over the Leaf Village. Obviously, one thing that would not be able to 100% be stopped would be the overall defeation of Obito, and the way that I'm going to be handling that is pretty much going to be a very quick way that I actually heard of from popular Naruto YouTuber Swag Kage. Pretty sure all you guys know who he is, so me telling you guys to go check him out won't do anything. But Swag Kage is just one of those Naruto explained guys who just really goes into depth and truly knows his stuff. So I'm not even going to be questioning what he would truly believe would happen. I genuinely believe a lot of what he says, and going with this notion would probably fit this story the best. I mean, obviously it's a fact, it's a well-known fact that Minato's flying Raijin markings never disappear. So a couple of years after the events of the Nine Tails attack, I do believe that Naruto would, since he's being raised and, Minato constantly had that fear in the back of his head that that man would return one day, would decide sooner than later that he would actually end up asking many of the most powerful shinobi in the village at the time to essentially go with him to defeat the masked man. He would ask shinobi along the lines of Fugaku, and he would also end up taking some Anbu members as well as Kakashi with him to end up handling the inevitable threat of the masked man, right? And the way that this would end up going down is essentially that once they end up arriving with Obito, they would end up having an all-out battle in which Minato and all of the ninjas against him would end up defeating him due to the fact that Minato's flying Raijin marker would be one of the many counters that, Obito would have to his Kamui abilities. And once Minato would be finding out who Obito is, I think that it would, generally speaking, be a heartbreaking, shattering moment where Minato kind of realizes that one of his failures in in the past came to haunt him years and years and years later. So after seeing that it was Obito, Minato would end up pretty much trying to right his wrongs that he would have made in the past. So, you know, after finding out that Obito was the masked man and having actually put him to rest forever and you know, killing him, Kakashi, also knowing this now, would kind of not really know what to do. But because they don't want to just let that eye fall into the wrong hands, Kakashi would actually take those Sharingan and give them to Fugaku for him to be able to decide what it is that he wants to do with them and not actually give back Kakashi's, because at that point it's already become a part of him, and Fugaku can more than respect Kakashi. Even though he's not a full-blooded Uchiha, he definitely deserves that eye, right? And so we end up getting a very, very strange situation in which Kakashi and Minato would both kind of end up having this bad taste in their mouth from Obito, but kind of hold the good things in their memories instead of the bad. So they kind of just push the fact that he was an evil man to the side and just kind of praise him for all the good things that he did. And, you know, they're happy that they stopped him before things could have gotten worse. So the village hidden in the mist would never turn into the bloody village, right? The village hidden in the blood or something, right? Basically what Zabuza was trying to stop. And the Hokage Yagura never would have ended up becoming a thing. He never became tyrannical, and he was just himself. So that never ends up happening. And the Akatsuki's formation still would happen, unfortunately. However, without their true leader, their intentions would actually end up changing a lot, because now it's going to be Nagato's Akatsuki and not Obito's. And because they don't have Itachi, they're weaker by 2 members, Obito and Itachi. So the way that the Akatsuki formation would actually end up changing would actually affect a lot, because Itachi was the one who defeated Deidara, and I definitely think that somebody else on the Akatsuki could have done it. But I don't think that they could have done it with such ease. And they might have actually ended up losing a member while trying to gain another one at the same time, which is kind of a strange concept if you truly think about it, but I digress. So what ends up happening following this is essentially Naruto's early childhood years alongside Sasuke would essentially be spent with the 2 boys essentially being able to train alongside their respective trainers, right? With Sasuke having Shisui, Itachi, and Fugaku there to teach him a couple of things, and Naruto actually having his mother and father there to teach him how to get over the, you know, the chakra siphoning ability of Kurama, so that Naruto would actually be able to tap into his chakra reserves and not have to worry too much about Kurama. He's able to water walk and tree walk at an earlier age, and he would actually be a very, very well adapted ninja when it comes to his wind nature transformation jutsus. Naruto's taijutsu would pretty much be on par of that of like Lee's at this point, because of the simple fact that Minato does believe in hard training. And so because Naruto would actually grow up akin to that of a genius, Naruto's progression would be extremely rapid. And Naruto in this what if would actually look a lot like his father, haircut and everything, wanting to resemble that of the greatest ninja of all time. Because this time we're actually going to be going under the assumption of what the Naruto story actually set up for us so long ago. Recently I watched a video by the name of a creator called Dino Knight, who actually went over the actual, not a theory as much as it is a well-known fact, that Minato was actually going to be the strongest ninja of all time until the creator, you know, ended up retconning that and making it so that Hashirama was actually the strongest back then, so that Madara could have more of a higher power. Because if Minato was the strongest, then Madara would have been even weaker than Minato, who Naruto at that point already had surpassed. So we're going to be going with that idea that Minato is actually still the strongest shinobi alive. And the Raikage would always have been afraid of him during these early years, so he's never going to try to do anything to the Hidden Leaf Village. And also Inoki would actually be terrified of Minato because he took out 1,000 of his own ninjas. So that's not going to be an issue for him. But Naruto this time around, due to the fact that he's actually going to know his lineage very well, he's actually going to be respected amongst his classmates, and characters such as Sakura would not think he's annoying as they would in the original. He would actually have his own platoon of girls that would actually love him just like they they would with Sasuke. And ultimately, once they make it towards the direction of where they're going to actually be picking teams, I think that this time around, Minato's actually going to use his pull to get Naruto to be on the team with the heir of the Hyuga, Hinata Hyuga. Now, why am I doing this? Because I like Hinata way more than I like Sakura, and even though she's not going to be an a-hole to Naruto in this version, I still generally speaking think that it would be kind of a cool idea to have the head of the Namikaze clan and Uzumaki clan, as well as the head of the Sharingan clan, you know, not the head, but like one of its members, and a member of the Hyuga clan all on one team would be extremely beneficial to the village. They would create a powerhouse-like team. And because Hinata's not going to be on the other team, she's going to be replaced by Sakura. What a surprise! But I digress. Anyways, though, what pretty much ends up happening this time around is Naruto would actually already know Kakashi this time around, so he would already be well versed with the fact that Kakashi's definitely going to show up late. I mean, Kakashi being on time is more rare than somebody winning the lottery, so it's kind of crazy. And, you know, as expected, Kakashi would end up arriving late, but Naruto and Sasuke would actually have ended up been talking that entire time, and Hinata would have actually been invited in the conversation. When Kakashi enters the room, he would actually walk into a full team of just people actually vibing, and not this room of awkward tension or even a prank. Naruto would say, "What's up, Kakashi sensei? What do we do now?" Kakashi would tell them to meet him on the roof, and Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata would all do that, you know, very happily. Sasuke's intentions in this version are going to be changing from that of revenge to essentially becoming the Hokage. Naruto's going to be to surpass his father. Hinata's is going to be to become a very powerful kunoichi and going to be a responsible leader of the Hyuga clan someday. And everybody's choices would be absolutely respected. When it comes to the bell test the very next day that Kakashi's going to be putting them through, Minato, being the dad that he is, would definitely more than likely tell Naruto to actually eat some breakfast. You know, not too much, but just give him a little food. And I definitely see Kushina, you know, being like, "Why would you tell him, Minato? He's supposed to figure these things out on his own." With Minato just being like, "Come on, like, we gotta give him a little help." And Naruto being like, "Yeah, thanks, dad." With, you know, him, you know, kind of saying bye to his mom and just jumping out the window, right? Now, Naruto out of this moment would be wearing the iconic Naruto jacket, and he would make his way towards the forest about 2 hours later than they were supposed to be intended, because Naruto would have told this to Hinata and Sasuke, and so they would only have to wait about 30 minutes for Kakashi to arrive. He would end up apologizing for his late arrival, with him asking how long they would be waiting, and they say just 30 minutes. They got there 2 hours late, knowing that he was going to be there late as well, and Kakashi would be like, "Oh." But regardless, he begins explaining the rules of the bell test, and Minato would actually come out to watch his son perform in the bell test, right? As well as Fugaku, which would actually be extremely surprising for Sasuke, who would actually be there trying to support Sasuke and there to give him as many tips as possible. Sasuke, because his father would be watching, would immediately begin the bell test with a bang, and so would scream, no, not scream, but let out, "Fire style, fireball jutsu," right at the direction of Kakashi, as Kakashi would immediately dodge out of the way, not being surprised at all at the fact that Sasuke can use such a jutsu, being the son of Fugaku, and Minato would end up coming in flying with some taijutsu and wind style base attacks, shooting a wind bullet at the direction of Kakashi before taking a kunai out and rushing in at Kakashi, trying to use his ultimate speed to essentially catch him off guard, using a couple of shuriken traps and also using a couple of other contraptions that he would have ended up using to try to deduce a way to find Kakashi's weakness. Sasuke and Naruto would be using both of their taijutsu attacks to go in, and Hinata, feeling useless, would finally end up rushing in, activating her Byakugan as she would begin to try to use her gentle fist technique. Kakashi, upon seeing that the team would all equally be trying their best to work as a team, even though they're slipping up here and there because they're not exactly like used to each other, they would be trying, and that's what Kakashi is looking for. That's what Kakashi's looking for, especially this time, because he remembers what his team was like, and that if they would have avoided that, Obito would still be alive today. Obito never would have turned to the dark side, and maybe they could have saved him. And so Kakashi's very, very picky when it comes to the team that he was going to pick. He even told that to Minato, like he's not going to just let them pass just because he's his son. But Kakashi would have a smile on his face so bright, knowing that this next generation is truly going to be great. And Naruto would be there with Sasuke and Hinata as all of them get congratulated and passed on, as they all become genins, and they would celebrate immediately afterwards, actually at the house of Minato himself, with Fugaku's entire family actually being invited. And so Itachi and Sasuke's mother would actually be present, would to actually be there for the kind of celebration that Kushina would whip up, alongside the help of Sasuke's mother, who would be there to help her cook a couple of other things. And they would end up just having a grandiose night with a bunch of celebrations, with Naruto essentially having a very, very happy start to his journey. Okay, so picking off the story, we start everything off with Team 7 inside of Minato's office. Right now, this would of course be after 2 weeks of worthless D-rank missions, and once they completed that, they would pretty much be tasked by Minato to protect the bridge builder on his way to the Land of the Waves arc, right? And pretty much what would be happening here is that once Tazuna enters the room, I don't think that he would come inside a drunk mess, because I generally speaking think that Minato probably would be able to look at Tazuna, and the second he starts being like, oh, you Team 7, like what, seeing that it's the son of the 4th Hokage that's actually going to be on his team, he has a Jonin, Tazuna feels extremely confident. Plus, he doesn't want to disrespect the son of the 4th, so he ends up kind of just remaining quiet, and thus we don't end up getting that introduction scene. And since Sakura is there's no real reason for him to pretty much poke fun at any of the members of Team 7, well, except for Hinata, because she looks kind of useless until she actually begins fighting, because as we all know, Hinata low key, she kind of got hands. But that's besides the point. What ends up happening following this is that Team 7 would essentially make their way towards the gate the next day, and once there, they would pretty much embark on their couple of hour journey, right? They begin the mission, and about 40 minutes into it, when they're not 40, let's say 2 hours into it, right? They're 2 hours into their mission. Sorry about that, guys, I have my notifications turned on. But let's say that they're pretty much going on their way to their mission, right? And just like you guys might be expecting, the demon brothers would actually end up popping out in front of them. However, this time around, because Naruto actually had the expertise and training of his father and his mother, mind you, he would definitely not be afraid of some random bandit kind of ninjas. So they would definitely be able to take out both the demon brothers, Sasuke and Naruto, with Kakashi faking his own death, before then abruptly showing that, the dude didn't exactly die. But they would continue their mission, because this time around, Kakashi is far more confident in the team. I mean, he has a team of literal just prodigies in himself. There's nobody there that's going to be able to get in their way, right? Which is what Kakashi would essentially be thinking. They would continue on with the journey, and eventually Naruto would notice some movement in the bushes. He ends up throwing a shuriken at the direction and finds that it's a white snow bunny. And immediately Sasuke would look to Naruto and say, "What are you doing, Naruto? You afraid of a bunny?" But Naruto would kind of stick his hand out, as Kakashi would, kind of be like, "Everybody down." And suddenly a gigantic blade would come flying in at them from a strange direction. Sasuke ends up having to dodge out of the way, and so would the rest of them, as they are then greeted to the sight of Zabuza Momochi, who would be standing above them and pretty much looking very, very much so menacing, right? The team at this moment would all be kind of realizing that they are not in a very good situation, and Kakashi would pretty much tell the team to stay back, as he says, "I'll handle it," right? Kakashi proceeds to essentially get into a fighting stance, and he would tell he would tell Hinata, Sasuke, and Naruto to essentially protect the bridge builder Tazuna, right? Now, Kakashi would rush in with the kunai in hand, and they would both immediately begin to fight with one another. Kakashi would use his kunai to deflect and parry the attacks of Zabuza while he's using his blade, and he would be able to hold his own up until the end, when Kakashi naturally would actually get caught in the water prison jutsu. And once this happens and Zabuza would actually create a couple of clones to go in and finish the business, Naruto and Sasuke both would be able to keep Zabuza's clones from getting to Tazuna, and the ones that might even dare to get close would definitely be able to be shut down by Hinata. So when it comes to the Zabuza clones, there's nothing to worry about in terms of Team 7. This time around, they have just so much more expertise and finesse when it comes to their overall jutsus that it's just a lot more easier. And Naruto, seeing Kakashi stuck in the water prison jutsu, would immediately sigh as he would say, "Kakashi, why would you slack off in the training? You know if dad told you not to, right?" He comes rushing in, and he would pretty much throw a kunai at the direction of Zabuza, Zabuza, right? Now Zabuza would immediately parry out of the way, and it's at this moment that the kunai would turn into multiple kunais because he would have used a transformation jutsu on the kunai to turn it into a bunch of them, right? Now the kunais would then hit Zabuza, a couple of them nicking him and causing blood to be drawn, and a couple would actually stab into his leg, right? As Zabuza would be forced to let go of the water prison jutsu to avoid the most of them, and following this, Kakashi would finally unveil his Sharingan as he would begin to face off against Zabuza. This battle goes exactly like it does in canon, and we get the same scene between Haku pretty much taking Zabuza back, and this time around Naruto would know far well that, you know, Haku is not exactly a real tracking ninja, because Naruto this time around knows that real tracking ninjas do their job on the spot. They don't have to take their corpses somewhere else. No, they get rid of everything on the spot. So Naruto would be extremely, you know, like weary, but he would not say anything due to the fact that their team captain is out, and Minato has taught him better than to get overconfident and underestimate his opponents. Seeing as Naruto has no idea the strength levels of this person, he's unsure if he would even be able to handle it even with the help of Sasuke or Hinata. So he decides to essentially let Haku escape with Zabuza, and he knows that they will eventually encounter them once more. 2 weeks would pass and Kakashi would finally wake up only to see that Hinata and Sasuke would have both ended up learning the water walking jutsu and tree walking. And it would have been extremely easy seeing as Sasuke would have already known it and Hinata would have already known tree walking. So they kind of only had to teach her the basics of water walking, which she ended up getting down packed. And they would be working on team, like a team attacks, right? They would be working on their coordination and things of that sort. Why are they doing this? Because Naruto was taught from a very, very young age that he needs to be able to work with people together, and that his squad mates are going to be his pretty much family for the rest of his life now. Like these people that are on his team, he needs to be able to protect them, and they all need to be able to fight as a unison earlier than everybody else can. That way they could be more than prepared for the Chunin exams once that ends up coming around the corner, telling Naruto that that's going to be happening very, very soon, right? And so Naruto, Hinata, and Sasuke would have been outside working on that ability, and Kakashi would end up arriving with a smile on his face and crutches and stuff, right? And eventually a week would pass with them training together when suddenly the mist would thicken around the area and we would get a scene of Zabuza's return. However, this time he would be by the side of Haku. And because this time around Naruto wouldn't actually be present, because I doubt he would oversleep this time around, we are not going to be getting the scene where Naruto would be there to save Inari and his mother. Instead, Inari and his mother would actually end up getting captured this time, but I don't think that they would end up dying or anything like that. So I think that they're kind of just going to be pretty scared, and the revolt between the village people that were there in the original when they went up to Gato's men would not happen like it does in the original. Instead, we would actually get the full entirety of Team 7, and with Naruto being there, he would task Hinata with protecting the bridge builder, as Kakashi would fight Zabuza, and Naruto and Sasuke would both equally press Haku. They begin using taijutsu based attacks to keep Haku on the defensive end, and once they start realizing that Haku is actually a lot faster than them, they would both begin to get a little bit worried. But because Naruto and Sasuke are a lot more skilled than the ones that we would have gotten in the Land of the Waves arc, we would have a far more even battle, because keep in mind guys, this Naruto is not some scrub. Like, he is genuinely a very, very capable, powerful ninja. The basics that Naruto would have learned by the time of Shippuden would already be instilled in Naruto by an iron fist, that being his mother. And Naruto would even have access to a couple of Uzumaki techniques like the Uzumaki chains and things of that nature. So Naruto would be able to essentially use the Uzumaki chain jutsu to pretty much restrain Haku long enough for Sasuke to land a successful fireball jutsu, or so he would think, as Haku would use a substitution and get the upper hand on them by using the crystal mirror jutsu, right? Once trapping both Naruto and Sasuke inside of it, they would both kind of be screwed, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, but they would both end up ultimately trying their best to break out of it. But once they realize that they can't exactly do that, Naruto would decide that the best course of action would be to essentially, you know, maybe try to use a wind style jutsu as well as a fire style to create a fireball jutsu so powerful that it might be able to break. And they would do so. They create a gigantic fire style jutsu that all I'm gonna say is would actually be extremely effective, right? Because it's like the wind is kind of like amplifying the heat, And and because the wind is doing that, we would get a larger fireball, which would actually create a little bit of scuff on the ice. Like it would kind of like melt it slightly, but because Haku's ice mirrors are actually regenerative, they would not be able to see the the damage for too long, as it would just quickly heal itself, right? And once Naruto notices this, he realizes that this is not going to be an easy battle whatsoever. Naruto and Sasuke would both get into a very, very high intense combat style, and what would end up actually happening is that they would both be pretty much fighting for their lives in there, right? Haku would be throwing Senbon after Senbon, and this would lead Sasuke to eventually end up going into his two Tomoe like state. Two Tomoe in one eye, one Tomoe in the other one. And this would lead Sasuke to be able to dodge the Senbon a lot quicker. Naruto would be doing this out of sheer speed and sheer just predictability when it comes to where the Senbon are going to be hitting. And they would do a very, very good job, even making Haku have to go into like mid speed level inside of the mirror jutsu. And eventually Naruto, after having more and more anger rise to the surface, would ultimately not be able to keep the Nine Tails' power in check. But because he does have that training from his mother for the last couple of years, it's not going to be taking over him like it would be in the original. Naruto would go into like the slight cloak version of the Nine Tails, and with this power he would be able to punch Haku straight out of the ice mirror, knocking him clean out, as Kakashi would end up actually landing a piercing Chidori into the chest of Haku. Now, why Haku? Because Haku would have woken up once, very quickly after being knocked down, to sacrifice his life for that of Zabuza's, right? And then we would actually end up getting the speech with Naruto telling Zabuza that it's all wrong, that he doesn't want to ever be as strong as Zabuza if he's ever going to become as cold as he is, saying that it's messed up to do that to the person who loved you more than anything, right? Giving him the speech where Zabuza tells him that his words cut more than any blade. I think personally that is one of my favorite Naruto moments in the series. One of the first moments of the Naruto Talk no Jutsu, most OP ability in the series, was displayed, and I just love the moment. Like it's so heart-wrenching. You can truly feel the emotions on Zabuza with the art style and just the way that everything is portrayed in the scene. I don't know, I just find it perfect. Zabuza from here would actually go on to slaughter the majority of Gato's men, and it's at this moment that Team 7 would go into the town, only to save Inari and his mother from the tyranny of Gato. Following this, Team 7 would end up actually returning back to Konoha with the Great Naruto Bridge still being named after Naruto, and them returning to Minato, with Minato asking how their mission went. Minato would actually be quite shocked to realize that Tazuna had lied about the ranking of the mission, but he would be happy at the fact that his son actually got to go on a B rank and was actually successful with it. They would brief Minato in on the situation with the Nine Tails and it slightly leaking out of Naruto, and Naruto would say that it wasn't a big deal, that it wasn't even a full tail, and just a slight cloak that the Nine Tails gave to him because he felt a little more rage than he was used to. Naruto would end up kind of telling that to his father, and Minato would be like, "Oh, I understand, Naruto." As from here we would pretty much end up getting Naruto and the team being told about the Chunin exams, and him telling Kakashi if they're going to pretty much be putting them in. Kakashi would immediately say that of course he is, and then he would turn to the direction of the team, asking them if they are ready to participate in the Chunin exams, right? And all of them would immediately be like, "Oh yeah, like of course we're ready to participate in the Chunin exams." Like Hinata knows about it, Sasuke would know about it because of his father Hugaku, and Naruto would know about it because of his father Minato, right? And so all of them would accept the terms and conditions, and Naruto would end up returning back to his house, only to be met by his mother asking him how his first mission went. I see a scene something like this happening where Naruto walks in the door, right, and Kushina would immediately pull him in for a tight hug, as she's like basically cuddling him like a little baby, and Naruto would slightly get annoyed just because he's older now, he doesn't really like that stuff too much, but he's kind of like having a little bit of like an embarrassed look on his face, and he hugs his mom back and tells her about how everything went, how Kurama tried to go a little bit crazy, and Kushina would say, I get it, but he wouldn't say Kurama because Kushina doesn't know the name, only Naruto did in the future. But basically what ends up happening is Naruto would ultimately be able to essentially have a brief talk with his mom, and then suddenly Minato would walk in through the door saying hi family, as he gets briefed on the mission a little bit more extra details, and Naruto would be there to pretty much just start bragging to his dad. Honestly, like he just starts hyping himself up a little bit too much, telling his dad about how he did this and how the mission was super successful, and you guys get the point, yada yada yada. But Ultimately, what would actually end up happening following this is the trial for the Chunin exams, which means the situation where a ninja would actually attack them. Sasuke, Naruto, and Hinata would pass this test with flying colors, and eventually they would find themselves in the doors of the Chunin exams. Once they're walking in, they would actually run into a boy with bushy brows who would immediately end up challenging Naruto to a fight, saying that he wishes to fight the son of the fourth Hokage. And Naruto would look to Lee as he would tell him that honestly, like that's a cool idea, but the thing is that they need to conserve their stamina for the actual Chunin exams, that if they were to fight now, they would both be at a weakened state for the Chunin exams, and that he thinks it would be a lot smarter for them to simply meet up in the Chunin exams themselves to both pretty much work hard and be able to meet themselves in the ring. Lee would actually end up agreeing with this, and thus Sasuke wouldn't actually end up getting humiliated this time around. Not that he would, because this time he's actually around the same levels of strength as Lee, and so is Naruto, which means that this wouldn't have been a one-sided stomp regardless. But now that the tables are slightly changing a whole lot more because of their two very different upbringings this time around, and Sasuke actually being able to train with Itachi, Sasuke would be a lot more of a prodigy in this version that y'all could ever imagine. And it would begin showing soon, but for now, we're just going to be jumping into what happens once they begin to test. Now, the written part, boring, we're going to skip over that. The interaction between Anko, Orochimaru, and Naruto, not going to happen. Now, why is that not going to happen? Well, it's simple. Orochimaru is not about to come to the Chunin exams to try to take Sasuke's body, and that is for one of two reasons. Number one, Minato. Number two, Minato. Number three, Minato. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, number one is Minato, and number two is the fact that there is a surplus of Uchihas. This time around, since Sasuke isn't one of the last ones, nor is Itachi, Orochimaru doesn't have to force himself into the village and try to destroy it as it is now. Not to mention that Orochimaru is more than smart enough to realize that he's not actually going to be lighting a candle to Minato the fourth Raikage, and that trying to ambush it would be pretty much as futile as ever. And so the Chunin exams would actually be a normal event. This isn't going to be some high stake arc where we're going to be getting like crazy stuff happen. Instead, we're just going to be getting a good old fashioned tournament arc, and you know, the scroll process would be rapid for the team 7, because this time around they don't end up encountering the Sound Squad or Orochimaru, and they don't have to, you know, get the curse mark to Sasuke or any of that stuff. Naruto and Sasuke, as well as Hinata, would all be able to split up, go get a scroll separately, and then make their way towards the tower, breaking the record that even Gaara set. And you guys might be thinking that that's a little excessive, but the reason that I say that is because Gaara was actually messing around, killing as many people as he could, instead of just making his way towards the tower as soon as he ended up finding the scroll. So I think that because of that, Naruto and his squad would actually be able to beat that record, and so we would get a scene where Minato would pop out, or no, not Minato, but Iruka and Kakashi would pop out of their scrolls, and they would congratulate Team 7 on their efforts on passing the first stage of the Chunin exams. They would be allowed entrance into the area where they could actually rest for the next couple of days, as 2 days would pass and the rest of the Chunin exams participants would actually end up arriving, leading to the semi-finals. I mean the semi-battles happening, because there would be way too many people in the actual stands. And what would end up actually happening is that Naruto would get matched up against Kiba, just like he would in the original. However, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pretty sure you guys already know where this is going, so I'm going to quickly run through how I think this fight would go. Now, we all know Kiba, he's very hard-headed and he likes to strike first, strike hard, no mercy. So I think Kiba's immediately going to start off by telling Akamaru, let's do this, and we would get this scene where Akamaru kind of like transforms into Kiba, and they would use the Fang over Fang attack. Naruto, seeing this, would immediately parry out of the way, and Kiba would continue trying to rush at him with that strange jutsu. Naruto would jump up into the air using wall walking, would be able to jump up and create not thousands, but a bunch of clones, like let's say 50 at minimum, right? And these clones would be able to rush in at Kiba and essentially tank the attack long enough for Kiba to pretty much get out of that Fang over Fang state, right? Now, Naruto, once he sees this opening, would immediately take this opportunity to shoot a earth-style jutsu at the direction of Kiba, as Kiba would be shook by the fact that the earth would begin shaking. It would be like a tremor-like jutsu, a small one. And then Naruto would actually end up throwing a bunch of kunais at the direction of the opposite direction Kiba jumped in. On the other side, he would end up shooting a wind style wind bullet jutsu. And once he would get in closer to Kiba after knocking him down with the wind style, he would use the wind style gale palm to actually catch Kiba off guard and end up securing the dub for the battle, right? But once this happens, everybody else would have their battles go down just like it would in the original, and thus we would now pretty much be jumping in to the training arc for the 1 month period. Now this time around, because Sasuke is still, he still has the Sharingan and stuff like that, and Sasuke's clan is actually there, he's not going to spend his entire time with Kakashi, and instead Kakashi is actually going to be trying to teach Sasuke the Chidori. He would spend about a week with Kakashi, a week with his brother, and a week with Fugaku, training to become even more powerful than he already is, unlocking brand new fire style jutsus, unlocking a couple of more jutsus, and pretty much developing his taijutsu skills and copying Rock Lee's after the incredible battle between himself and Gaara. However, this time around, I think Minato watching in the stands would be more than enough to actually get in the way and save Lee from actually getting his arm and leg crushed by Gaara's sand. So I think that one good thing to come out of this is that Minato's not going to let somebody die in the Chunin exams if he can prevent it, or let somebody get injured beyond repair if, like I said, he could prevent it. So that's not going to be happening this time, and thus we would end up getting the 1 month training arc, where this time around Naruto would actually end up training with Jiraiya because he ends up returning to the village, and because Naruto already met Jiraiya a couple of times, he would be able to have a good couple of days training with Jiraiya, and he would actually end up learning the Rasengan during this time, as well as beginning to try to learn the very basics of the Flying Raijin. And using the Flying Raijin as of this moment is very hard for Naruto, and it drains a massive amount of chakra from him. Not enough to keep him out, but it definitely drains a hefty amount. So Naruto isn't very inclined to use the Flying Raijin yet because he's very bad at using it. So he would kind of learn it, but not really, considering its chakra drainage. But because of this, Naruto would take his training very seriously, and the way that I see this going down is Minato spending a lot more time with his son, and ultimately having a really cool scene where Naruto learns better the adamantium Uzumaki chains, and would end up learning a couple of jutsus from his father, spending time with Jiraiya, and hanging out with his friends that are part of Team 7 overall. That said though, ladies and gentlemen, what ends up happening after this is that we finally make our way towards the day where the actual battles would go down, and what I see happening here is essentially Naruto actually getting matched up against Gaara. Now why Gaara? Because I don't want Naruto to fight against Neji this time around. I think it's going to be a little bit too easy of a battle, and because Naruto's not going to be facing off against Gaara this time in the forest, I kind of want Naruto to face him off here with Gaara to actually be able to transform in the Chunin exams, and Naruto to be able to face him at full power. I think that would be a lot cooler than just telling you guys about how Neji gets stomped, because trust me, he will. I mean, Sasuke's already going to do it for Naruto, so yeah. But anyways, the battle proctor would look at the direction of Naruto, and Gaara would both be in the ring, and he would immediately say, Hajime! Naruto would immediately rush in at the direction of Gaara using blinding speeds, the levels that Rock Lee himself would have actually displayed when he was able to actually face off against Gaara. Now, the way that I see this playing out is obviously Naruto will start off kind of speed blitzing Gaara, and essentially throwing kunais and things of that sort. And Gaara's sand won't exactly be able to keep up, and after a little bit of time, Gaara would eventually end up having to use his perfect technique for defense, right? His sand coffin, or not sand coffin, but his sand spear or some shit, right? Where he pretty much ended up creating a dome of sand that's able to protect him from any quote unquote attack. Right now, as Naruto sees Gaara use this attack, Naruto would decide that he needs some destructive capabilities in order to be able to destroy it. So what does Naruto do? Naruto proceeds to hold one hand out and create the Rasengan with both of his hands. He doesn't need a shadow clone this time because of the help of his father being there, helping him truly perfect the Rasengan and not have to rely on a clone. Not to mention, he has the help of his mother there, who would actually make it a lot easier for Naruto to actually be able to control the abilities of Kurama and not let him affect his chakra pool, right? But As this is happening, Minato would be watching up on the stands with a big smile on his face, and Sasuke would end up arriving on the arena, right? But Naruto would immediately proceed to smash this Rasengan straight into the cavern that, Gaara finds himself in, and Gaara would then get hit point blank with a Rasengan with minimalized power, mind you, because of the fact that it hit through like sand, like very, very hard kind of sand. And once Gaara sees this, he would immediately begin flipping out. But this time there is no such thing as a plan to destroy the Hidden Leaf Village, so instead partial transformation would end up occurring, and Gaara would reveal himself for everybody to see. Many of the Kage would be up on the stands, and the Hokage Rasa would actually decide that it's about time he steps in. However, Minato would hold a hand out and say that not to worry. His son will more than likely be able to handle it, and if anything goes too off the rails, they will both be willing to step in if they truly need it. Rasa would sit down with a little bit of a that's your son's funeral out there, and Minato would just have this confident smile, knowing that his son would be just fine. He doesn't need his help. He doesn't need anybody right now. Right now, he just needs to believe himself, and the last thing that Naruto needs is to see that his father is trying to intervene in his fight. And so, Minato ends up pretty much just watching from the sidelines as Gaara would rush in at Naruto and begin to gain the upper hand, finally being able to match the levels of speed that Naruto would be able to display. Gaara's anger would begin rising more and more to the surface until eventually he would make it to the partial transformation state, where he has one arm transformed fully in the sand state, and one of his eyes already looks like the eye of that of Shikaku. Now Naruto this time around can't exactly whip out Gamabunta just because he's in an arena, so this time around he has to end things off a lot faster. And so what is Naruto going to do? Well, Naruto's going to go in and pretty much bait Gaara with a Rasengan, right? Like he uses the Rasengan, Gaara's able to dodge it, and mid-air when Naruto's getting flung back, he would be able to tap onto Gaara's back, right? Gaara's back gets tapped, and once Gaara feels that, he would pretty much end up hitting Naruto away, sending him flying backwards as Naruto would land on the ground, and Gaara would then try to pretty much like jump on top of him and crush him with his fist. It would almost appear as if it would have worked, however Naruto would have been able to place the flying Raijin seal mark on the back of Gaara, using the ability of the flying thunder god to appear right behind Gaara, as Gaara is completely shocked and Naruto would just say, "Rasengan!" smashing a point blank Rasengan onto the back of Gaara, who was completely unexpecting anything that would have just occurred right now, right? And so Gaara would be like, what? How? Like the very, very much so stereotypical, like, how could this have happened moment in anime would pretty much be this. Like, this is so stereotypical, but as Minato watches his son use that attack, he would have a little bit of a flashback to when he actually had to defend the village from the masked man, and he actually ended up using an attack very, very much so similar to what his son just did. So Minato would feel two mixed emotions. Number one, he feels extremely proud of his son, and number two, he feels extremely proud of his son. I mean, there's nothing else. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. He's just extremely proud of Naruto. And I mean, what can he say? I mean, Naruto just pulled off a S-level shinobi kind of feat, something that he was already doing at his age as well. However, his son is different. He not only had to deal with normal chakra pools, but he has to deal with Kurama messing with his. That's why it took Naruto a little longer to get to this point. However, it's still not mastered and it still does need a little bit of work, maybe a couple more months. But regardless though, Naruto would be able to defeat Gaara, and suddenly we would now hear the crowd begin to cheer for Naruto. They begin to cheer Lord Ford's son, and they would all just begin to cheer the name Naruto, with everybody saying, yeah, what else could we have expected from the son of the fourth Hokage? Minato, like they start cheering him, and Naruto doesn't feel like Boruto does, where he like kind of resents his dad. Naruto begins to have a smile on his face and cheer for his dad as well. He's like, yeah. And from here, Rasa would go down, check up on Gaara, see if he's fine, and he would be, as Rasa would end up saying, good, get up. And from here, Gaara would make his way back towards the like the arena area where you watch, as Sasuke and Neji would both actually be called up to the stands. Now, when they end up arriving on the battlefield, the proctor looks to each of them and tells them the rules before just being all like, Hajime! And immediately Sasuke would start the battle off by saying, I guess now we get to see who's better, the Byakugan or the Sharingan. And this is where things get a little bit iffy, because Obviously, everybody knows that in the beginning, people were always claiming that, Sasuke versus Neji would have actually been a great fight. And while yes, I do believe Sasuke versus Neji in the original timeline would have actually been a very phenomenal fight, I don't think that it would have actually ended up being that great of a fight this time around, only because of the simple fact that Sasuke this time around is not at the same power level that he would have been in the original. This time around, he has the training of both Itachi and Fugaku under his belt, and during that month of training, he would have been more than fortunate enough to actually train alongside Naruto during that time to pretty much end up racking his strength up to levels far beyond what many people would have considered natural for his age. But because of this, Sasuke and Naruto would both be prodigies beyond what they were in the original, with Sasuke having powers along the lines of pretty much heavy like Sasuke, right? Because keep in mind, Sasuke will have a full access to the 3 Tomoe at this point. And I do believe that Sasuke's jutsu and stuff like that, and chakra control and, intellect will probably be just as hardened as it would have been in that timeline. So I think that Sasuke's training this time around would have been extremely beneficial, and seeing Sasuke face off against Neji would pretty much be nothing but a one-sided stomp, where Neji would do his absolute best to keep Sasuke at bay and try to land a couple of 64 palm attacks, but it just wouldn't work. Sasuke would outspeed Neji, Sasuke would outthink Neji, Sasuke would outjutsu Neji, and pretty much in every general sense of the word, Sasuke would essentially just be superior to Neji, and there would not be a single thing that Neji could do about it. Like, that's just me keeping it 100% a buck with you guys. Neji is 100% getting his balls fondled in this fight, and that's that. Like, that's it, guys. Neji takes the L this time around. Sorry, Neji, you're donut. You take another L. But one good thing to come out of this is we get to find out who's stronger between the likes of Naruto and Sasuke, because that's the next fight that comes up. And due to the fact that there is no such thing as the destruction of the Hidden Leaf Village arc, we won't even have to deal with that stuff. So we can just jump straight over to the finals and see who's going to become a Chunin this time around. And so the battle would commence. Immediately the proctor would say, "Hajime," as both contestants would pretty much look at each other and they would pretend to chuckle at each other, saying that this is finally it, with Sasuke saying, "Yeah, so you better give me your best performance, Naruto." As from here, Naruto goes on to activate his Sharingan, Naruto doesn't go on to activate his Sharingan, but Naruto just goes on to pretty much create a couple of clones, and Sasuke would be the one to activate his Sharingan, right? Now, Sasuke would immediately rush in the direction of Naruto, with Naruto coming in just as fast, and they would both clash fists. Now, as they're both clashing fists, Sasuke and Naruto would begin trying to push back and try to beat the other person, but it just wouldn't be happening, until finally, Naruto's fist would begin pushing Sasuke's back, and Sasuke would jump back before weaving a bunch of hand signs and using a fire style jutsu to keep Naruto at bay. Naruto would dodge this by using an earth style jutsu to create a mud wall, and from here he would jump up into the air, throwing a bunch of shuriken at the direction of Sasuke, which Sasuke would counterattack with his own pair of shuriken himself. Naruto from here would begin running around the arena, creating a bunch of shadow clones as they slowly begin to go after Sasuke, and Sasuke would begin to pretty much begin dismantling each and every single one of them. Naruto, as of this current moment, would then finally decide that it's about time that he goes on to try to defeat Sasuke, and so would create a Rasengan in hand. Sasuke would as well, creating a Chidori, and both would end up rushing in at each other, clashing the respective attacks. Now, as this clash happens, a burst of wind and energy would shoot out towards the arena, towards the area where everybody's watching, and it would be a truly amazing spectacle to behold. But eventually it would be realized that both of their attacks are pretty much hard countering each other, and they would pretty much end up jumping away to create some distance. Naruto, however, in that split moment would have actually placed a Raijin marking on the hand of Sasuke, and Sasuke, not being none the wiser, would not be at all aware of this. However, Sasuke would have also had a plan brewing himself, which essentially consists of the Chidori stream. Now, Sasuke during this time would then begin charging his electricity, and he would then act as if he's gonna have to get close to Naruto, until bam, he shoots the Chidori. But midway through Sasuke's Chidori about to hit him literally light speed, Naruto blitzes out of the way right in front of Sasuke, as Naruto goes on to land a devious uppercut straight onto the face of Sasuke, fixing his chin or actually ruining his chin much earlier than he would have in the original canon timeline, right? And Sasuke would go flying back, as Naruto would say that's checkmate. And he would stand above Sasuke with a kunai in his hand straight to the nape of his neck. And, you know, the base of his neck, right? And Sasuke would pretty much end up getting up and being like, "You win, Naruto. I guess now we know who's stronger." As you know, the shadow clone would disappear and Sasuke would be standing behind Naruto with his Sharingan active and his kunai to the nape of Naruto's neck, and actually nape this time. Naruto would chuckle before saying that, you know, that was a dirty trick, Sasuke, and Sasuke would smirk saying that everything is allowed in battle. Naruto goes on to pretty much get up slowly as he lifts up the arm of Sasuke and claims Sasuke to be the winner, right? Now, Sasuke would end up getting the approval and appraise of Fugaku, and Minato would go on to pretty much call Sasuke the Chunin of the year. Like, he would proceed to promote him in front of everybody, as everybody would begin cheering on the Hyuga, what clan is Sasuke a part of again? The Uchihas, right? They would go on to pretty much begin praising the Uchihas. And in this moment, everybody would kind of begin having smiles on their faces. They would all essentially be extremely happy. And because of this, nothing could really be going wrong as of this moment, right? But since nothing is going wrong, this is actually where we get to a very, very much so interesting point in the story. Because Minato being alive and the Akatsuki's leader actually being defeated way earlier than it would be in canon would actually end up affecting a lot of things in the story that maybe in the original would not have mattered. Now, I kind of understand the dilemma that the writers of Boruto have ran into, which is essentially the lack of conflict element of the story. Because with Naruto being the most powerful shinobi in the planet, there's nobody that could essentially cause conflict knowing that a shinobi like that exists. Obviously, everybody would pretty much live in fear. And due to the fact that Minato is actually the strongest shinobi of all time, nobody exactly wants to start conflict with the Hidden Leaf Village. So all of the missions that Naruto would end up going on for the 3-year time skip that we would have gotten in the original, such as the Tsunade retrieval arc and or the Sasuke retrieval arc, we would actually end up not having either of those. And because Sasuke wouldn't be a target for the curse mark, he would not end up actually getting access to the curse mark stage of anything. And so because of that, we kind of end up running into this strange dilemma where essentially nothing happens because Minato is just too strong to let anything happen. They're living in a time of peace way earlier than they would have in canon, just due to the fact that the Hidden Leaf Village is prospering so well, and it's actually, instead of fighting against the enemy nations, they would actually be helping them prosper just as much as they are as well, giving them a couple of hints, secrets, and trading a couple of, you know, necessities and elements with each other to essentially grow off of each other and produce stronger and more capable ninjas. Technology would begin advancing throughout these 3 years, and due to this, we would actually end up getting to a very, very cool era where the only real threat to the story would be the Akatsuki. But ladies and gentlemen, mind you that the first threat of the Akatsuki was essentially the capturing of Gaara. But this time around, Rasa's there, and their ninjas would actually be a lot more developed than in canon. So this time around, Deidara not only has to face off against Gaara, but he actually also has to face off against Rasa, right? And do I believe that Deidara could defeat the Kage and previous Kage? No. I don't see a world where that happens, where Deidara is capable of defeating 2 sand users at the same time. 1, yes. 2, absolutely not. So this time around, Deidara loses, and the only threat to now face off against would be Sasori. However, due to the fact that Lady Chiho would be there, I think Sasori would actually be handled relatively quickly. And because Deidara and Sasori would be taken out, that would leave us with not too many threats, considering Itachi's out of the Akatsuki and the leader Obito isn't even there. And since the leader Obito isn't there, Pain is not taking any advice from Zetsu. And so what is Pain's goal? To essentially capture all the 9-tailed beasts and make the world kind of live in this state of peace. However, one thing that Pain would have started to notice during this time would have actually been something very interesting. Due to the fact that Minato became Kage, nations have actually kind of stopped conflict with each other almost altogether, and it almost seems as though the organization of the Akatsuki isn't truly needed as much as it was a couple of years ago. Pain would end up actually going to visit the Leaf Village and having a conversation with Minato, which would end with Minato sharing his own idea and philosophy with Pain, and them both not being able to truly come to an understanding, but at least respect each other's and what each other has been able to accomplish with their set goals. And because of this, I don't think Nagata would actually end up trying to destroy the village or trying to actually start the 4th Great Shinobi World War. I think that this, generally speaking, would actually be where what if Naruto was Minato's, what if Naruto had his parents would actually end up ending. Because without conflict, there is no story. And yeah, that pretty much concludes what if Minato and Kushina survived. Do you guys like the fact that this story was so fast paced and everything ended up good for our yellow haired, orange, puppy, shinobi, unpredictable ninja? Or do you guys hate it and you guys actually wanted more conflict and you guys actually needed more conflict? Well, let me know down below in the comments. And with that all out of the way, it has been your boy Xehther and I am out.